Well, did the shooter act alone? The man who tried to assassinate President Trump, was he acting as a lone wolf, or did he have help? Our next guest says there's simply no way that he acted alone. Our next guest is Dallas Alexander, spent nearly 20 years as an elite sniper in the military and the special forces, and has gone viral over the past 24 hours with his comments on social media about acting alone or acting with help. And Dallas joins us now. Dallas, great to have you here on the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me.
So your video, of course, where you said, I want to get into this and I want to make a statement about this. Can you just walk us through why you decided to speak out and what you think happened?
Yeah, I was just getting a lot of questions about it. I'm a country singer now, but I spent, like you said, a lot of time in the special operations world. And this type of operation was part of our job. So close protection and securing VIPs up to and including the Prime Minister. I'm from Canada. We protect him in Afghanistan and Iraq. So I'm very familiar with all this stuff, as well as being a sniper for almost 14 years, I guess. It just, when I saw this video, immediately, it was very fishy to me that specific rooftop was not covered. Like, there should not be a blind spot on a rooftop that's within 150 to 200 yards of, the president or former president of the United States. I was actually out, and I just saw the picture on the screen come up. I couldn't really even hear what the particular news channel was saying, but immediately, just from seeing the aerial photo, I'm like, that roof and the water tower would be the first two things that you look at and make sure are secure. And I feel like just even a child that plays Call of Duty would know that.
Right. A child that plays Fortnite would know that, right? You're being sniped from an area. Look for the high ground. Look for those particular spots. We now know NBC News just a few minutes ago confirmed that, in fact, according to the Secret Service, that rooftop spot was an area of, quote, concern for them days ahead of time. So this had been identified as a problem spot days ahead of time. So as a sniper, I mean, what do you make of that?
I mean, just to hear them say it, it's absurd. It's so incredibly obvious. Like, yes, it's at a range that you can just zero your rifle at, and there's a slope that makes the approach hidden for a shooter to crest over top and have clear aim at where Donald Trump is speaking. It makes absolutely no sense. And then for that to even be a news title, it's the most obvious threat spot.
So can you walk me through, as a sniper, what you're looking for in those moments? And when you saw this layout, I mean, what stood out to you? Like the two snipers that had their scopes, they're aimed at that particular spot for upwards of 3 minutes. They had them in their sights. Can you walk me through, as a sniper, what you would have been looking at?
Yeah, so from their position, I'm assuming they were seeing him slowly kind of crest over the top of that, because it looked like it was sloped away from them in the back, which covered his approach, up until his gun would have been over top and pointed out. So they were probably watching slowly to crest. I'm sure they were looking to see if they could identify a gun or not. I think I heard something about there was some waiting for permission to fire as well. I don't know how that all works. Like, I'm not 100% sure on the rules of engagement and how they work between Secret Service and local police or anything like that. But he would have had him in his sight. I actually found the reaction a little bit strange, because if you're looking at a target ready to shoot for that long, the only thing, once you know the range, the only thing you're thinking about is like, when am I pulling this trigger, and has my wind call changed, essentially. And so there was fire, and I saw a video where he kind of reacted and pulled back off the gun, and then I think he settled in and took a shot, is what it looked like. And that was a little weird. But I mean, gunfire makes people do weird things, so I'm not saying that's suspicious. I just, as a sniper, when you have someone in your sights like that, in a moment like that, like, you are ready to pull the trigger, like, in a split second.
Of course, you've gone viral for saying that this is, I mean, he didn't act alone. Why do you think that that's the case, that he didn't act alone?
Yeah, I just think, I believe that there is no level of incompetence that could be the explanation for this. And I worked in the government forever. I know incompetence, trust me. But this is just, it's too incredibly obvious of a position. In any type of planning, I saw videos, there's tactical professionals everywhere, from Secret Service to police to tons of people there that, are in the realm of tactics like this. And that is just the most obvious position possible. And there's a lot that needs to happen for this kid to get from, I think it was his van they found, to a rooftop
Right.
within 150 yards of the president on a building that was identified as a threat, that had a ladder. There's so many things. And I think I heard that the ladder was attached, but either way, when you go get ready at this property or venue before Donald Trump shows up, this is the first thing you look at, and it's the first thing you secure. So I can't wrap my head around it, or I can't even come to a conclusion that it's incompetence, because that level of incompetence, and it would have to be from every person, everyone on the ground, from the police walking around, to be like, how come no one's watching this building?
And of course, you've seen now the eyewitnesses who are shouting for minutes, letting the police know, and they're pointing. You hear President Trump speaking in the background. They're letting the police know that there is an individual climbing on that rooftop in an army crawl with a rifle. And are you guys going to do anything about it? What would have been happening behind the scenes, do you think? I mean, as you mentioned, as a sniper team protecting the Prime Minister of Canada and others, what would have been happening kind of behind the scenes on the comms channel as you're hearing from your supervisors, your superior officers, and so forth, calling out information to you? What would you have been hearing?
Yeah, I think like for us between the sniper teams, you would just be communicating with the other teams, if there were other teams, who has eyes on that target. And do you identify a rifle? Can you see this? Yes or no? Different positions would be calling in what they can see. And then it would, because I'm assuming this was a couple of agencies there. So it's Secret Service and police and everything. So the stuff on the ground, I can get to confusion and incompetence. Like I've seen comms be crazy when stuff gets heated. Communication breaks down. It's tough between interagencies and all of that stuff. So the incompetence, once there were already shots fired, or once the guy was ready with the gun on the roof, I can buy that. Like I don't think every person there was just like letting this kid shoot at Donald Trump. My point is, for him to get on that roof with a rifle that close, I think someone helped there. And I'm not pointing my finger at a particular person or agency. I'm just saying someone on the inside of this thing helped or assisted or turned a blind eye or whatever somewhere. Because to me, that is impossible.
And to me, it's impossible as well. And I'm not an elite sniper. But for 3 minutes, we know that this sniper, the Secret Service sniper, at first it was thought it was other agencies. I think we've now confirmed it was Secret Service snipers on that roof aimed in that direction, that for 3 minutes, they had him in their sights. What would have been happening on the comms in that situation? I mean, what would you have said? I have this individual in my sights. He's not one of us. He's got a rifle. It's aimed at the president. And for 3 minutes, I mean, what would have been happening in that moment?
Oh, well, I would have pulled the trigger. Like you have, and again, I can't speak to their ROEs, but I can imagine that they have an ROE that says an armed person on a rooftop looking at, your principal, which is the former president of the United States. I can't imagine there's an ROE that says like you have to wait for him to shoot first.
Right.
So that I don't understand. Like he would have been shot. So I don't understand what they were talking about for 3 minutes. I don't see how. I could understand if you just see movement, like you can't just shoot at movement. But if there was a rifle identified, like you have to take that shot.
Well, that was going to be my next question. How powerful are the scopes you're using? I mean, initially reports were that it was about 488 yards away. We now know that it was about 150 yards away. You're using a high-powered scope on a rifle. Can you explain to me like what you would have seen? Would it have been crystal clear, or would it have been murky at a distance as a sniper? 150 yards, is that at the edge of your? That's
I didn't
clear to
see.
you?
That's crystal clear. Any scope I've ever used. I didn't see the optics that they have, and there's things like hot days can have mirage and stuff like that, especially coming off of a roof, but not at 150 yards. You will see it if you're using 10 power, 30 power, 20 power, any sniper optic. Essentially, you're going to see it. Like that's almost where you zero your gun at. Like it's crystal clear.
So 150 yards is like where you zero your gun.
You'd normally zero around 100, but you're just 50 yards past that. And with a good optic, it's a very clear picture.
Wow. So I think a lot of people wondering if this individual had help to be there, and some others, of course, speculating that he would make the perfect patsy as a loner, so sort of an outcast, the perfect patsy to be used in this situation. It does absolutely seem strange for them to have this rule of engagement to allow this person to fire first, unload 8 rounds. Can you, before I let you go, Dallas, the 8 rounds moment here, I mean, this guy gets off 8 rounds. He also has a police officer confront him on the roof. And then the police officer backs off and retreats, and then he's able to fire. How is that? What about that makes sense to you? Any of it?
No, not at all. There's a bunch of things that happen that just don't add up. And this is why I have the opinion that I have. And it starts with just this young man being able to get to that position, why it wasn't covered, why, like, there's just so many things that don't add up. That's why I hold the opinion that I do.
Yeah. I still don't understand how he gets off 8 rounds, right? Even if they were waiting for him to fire once, how quickly can a sniper team respond to just one shot, let alone 8 shots?
It's like fractions of a second.
Yeah, this whole thing is absolutely fishy to me. Dallas, thank you for taking some time out. We really, really appreciate it. And I know you're out in huge crowds all the time, singing in front of thousands of people. And to see, I'll get you out of here on this question. We've been sort of making comparisons to people who are performing on stage. I mean, that's something you do on a regular basis. The security, it seems like at those events, just a Taylor Swift concert, and there's huge bodyguards around. I mean, it seems like you guys have more security on a regular basis than what the president had coming to his assistance. Did anything that stand out to you from that regard? You've been around these big concert venues, and it seems like there's all sorts of bodyguards and protection for you guys.
Yeah. I mean, some of them, not always for me, but I mean, that's just another fishy thing. I heard something about a request for more Secret Service and whether they got it or not. But I actually don't think the number of people there in this particular case really mattered that much. Like, that's not why I think it's fishy, even though maybe it played a part. But like, you could have 2 people securing that site, and that rooftop is going to be one of the things you focus on.
Yeah,
it's just so obvious to me that it's a little bit crazy.
Yeah, no, I think you're great. I think you're right. Absolutely, that rooftop is the subject number 1 in all of this. Dallas, thank you so much for taking some time out to speak with us. I saw your video, and I said I want to talk to this man. Thank you so much, Dallas.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.